Venice, also known as the Floating City or the City of Canals. It's one of Italy's most picturesque locations, and the historic city centre boasts being predominantly car-free, with canals serving as the main source of transport. However, there is one place with more canal miles than Venice. Birmingham, home to 35 miles of canals, it's the biggest canal network in the UK. Hello, I'm Ronnie Parsons, and in this documentary I'm going to be speaking to Birmingham's canal boat owners, telling their experiences and find out what life is really like on the water. The UK is estimated to house more than 15,000 people on canal boats, and the majority is right here in Birmingham. Canal boats serve as a distant memory to an industrial past. They're cherished by wildlife, pedestrians and cyclists among most. Canals were used as waterways to transport vital materials during the Industrial Revolution, such as coal and iron. Here in Birmingham, the inner network of canals reaches 35 miles, according to the Canals and River Trust, but the total BCN has reached an astonishing 100 kilometres. First up on my travels, I spoke to John, and he had a little friend called Bosely. Tell us a bit about your canal boat, how long you've been living on the canal boat and how you find it.
I retired last year, September, spent 30 odd years in construction. I retired, we lived in Surrey, sold the house, and we put half of the house on to get the boat built. So the boat was built throughout the year, last year, and then we moved on to it in January this year.
Not too long then?
So we went, less than a year, so we moved on in January, down near Rugby, and we've been sort of pootling around the Midlands.
So what attracts you to the Midlands, what attracts you to Birmingham?
Well, it's where the boat was built in Rugby, and we've got to take it back after a year. I've come from Surrey, I've got family up in Lancashire. I've hung around the Midlands because we've got to be back in Rugby in February. So we've hung around, we've gone down to Banbury, we've gone down to Worcester. We're just back in the city for a couple of weeks.
So obviously you mentioned about Bosely. How's he find? Is he canal stricken dog?
He was 3 months old. We lived with my parents while the boat was being built. So we had him for 3 months at my mum's house, and then since January he's been on the boat. He loves it when we're out in the sticks. Quite loud here, so he gets a bit distracted. But no, he loves it.
Just a bit.
He loves it. We've had a dog on a house, and we've had a dog on hire boats in the past. In a house you can let him out in the garden. So in here I wouldn't. I'd take him out on the lead. So it's the only place really. Boaters, you'll see me in the morning at 8:30 with the dog in my Udi. It's a bit strange at first, but actually no one sort of bats an eyelid.
What would you say has been your most sort of memorable moment, or a moment that you're not so fond of?
The spring was lovely. When it's really sunny and it's lovely. Winter we did sort of February in the rain. But it's all right. The best bit is the summer and the sun and the spring. Muddy towpaths aren't very good. Birmingham here is fine, and a lot of these main routes are fine. Some of the sort of out in the sticks.
Yeah,
it's really quite muddy.
It's a bit different.
That's the downside really. So people say, is it cold in a boat? But it's not. We've got a diesel heater. We've got central heating. It's an electric boat, so it's got solar panels and a little generator. We've got electric cooker. We've got a coffee machine. We've got all the milk on. You just look like you have at home. Cost
of living, would you say it's different? Or is it like cheaper?
It's cheaper, yeah.
For you, much cheaper?
That was one of the reasons I could retire early, because we didn't need to spend a huge amount. We spent a lot of money on the boat, but you pay a licence fee every year to the Canal and River Trust. Food and diesel is the biggest expense really.
Yeah. And I imagine keeping this little guy, because they're happy and entertained all the time.
Yeah.
After a lengthy chat with John and his lovely dog Bosely, I spoke with Charles and Karen, who have been living on a boat for 7 years. So, tell us a bit about the boat canal, what it means to you, how long you've been doing it.
Well, we've been living on the boat 7 years, and we sold a house, sold the cars, sold everything, in on dry land at all. So we've been living on the boat and cruising England.
What made you want to do that? Was it just a spur of the moment decision? Or
it wasn't a spur of the moment, no.
Wow.
We've been hiring boats for a number of years before we bought this one, so we knew we liked the layout of boats, but life was getting very stressful, big mortgage, job changes, and we just decided it would be better for our mental health to do this. There's still problems when you're living on a boat. Things go wrong, what you're not expecting. Quite a few things went wrong with the boat in the first 3 months, mainly because we didn't know what we were doing. But
so what made you want to pick this specific boat? Was there one in mind, or was it this? Did you see this one and think that's the one for us?
There's various websites you can look at for narrow boats. We've looked at hundreds online and in adverts, and not many in the flesh, but when we saw this one we noticed for us, because you'll notice that Charles is quite tall, and this boat was designed and built by a man the same height, but inside, because of the way he designed it, we've got 6'7" headroom, and it's a complete open. There's no corridors, which is quite unusual for a narrow boat. So it was a question of this one came up, and we thought, yes, that's the one for us.
How would it compare with sort of cost of living for in a house?
Well, it costs less, but there are always things that need to be paid for. Like people with a house, you sometimes have to fix your roof, or we've just had the roof repainted. And there's always something like that. But generally, yes, it's significantly cheaper.
Much cheaper, yeah. What would you say is the best moment that you've had?
It's the journey that makes the whole thing interesting.
Meeting different people. So where we used to live, we had a very strong friendship group that we socialised with regularly. But we've come in and out of Birmingham. So in lockdown 2, we were in that wharf because we weren't allowed to move during lockdown, same as everyone else had restrictions. So we made loads of friends in there that we keep in touch with, and as we travel around, I think we've got about a dozen WhatsApp groups. So people we keep in touch with and catch up with them. And the thing is, if you don't get on with your neighbours, you just undo the ropes and go.
And go. I guess that's the pleasure, isn't it? As they say, instead of having a neighbour from hell that you can't move away from, you can just pitch up and set up anywhere. Wow, brilliant. Today has been an interesting and eye-opening experience for me. Speaking to canal boat owners and hearing their stories. It really emphasises to me the differences between living on land and living on water. I've been Ronnie Parsons. This has been Barges of Brum. Thank you for watching.